Hi, I'm Liz from Night Owl Crafts Australia. My able assistant Tosh has taken refuge in a cooler room today. In Melbourne it is very hot and humid. Currently I think in this room it must be over 40 degrees and the humidity at probably 90%. It's always difficult to come up with ideas for masculine birthday cards. So today we're going to look at a shaker card specifically for men. This is the shaker card that we're going to make today. In the little window there's nuts and bolts that you can shake around. And on the envelope I've used a die also with tools to link it in with the card. To make this card I've used the Everyday Jars framelits from Stamping Up, and I've used the larger of the jars die. I've also used the Build It framelits dies, also from Stamping Up, and the hammer, the screwdriver, the spanner, the saw and the nuts and bolts dies. And I've also used the little lid stamp from the Jar of Love stamp set from Stamping Up. I've pre-prepared a foam insert, and for this I've used 2 sheets of craft foam which I've stuck together to make an extra thickness. To stick them together I've just used a roll of double-sided tape. This one's made by Couture Creations. I've then used the framelits die to cut out the shape of the jar from the foams. I've got double-sided tape on the back and the front, and 1 layer joining the 2 foams together. So to build the card you need a card base, and I've just got a blank white card base, the foams, and then on top a sheet of whatever coloured paper that you wish to use. And from this we will also be cutting out the shape of the jar. To work out where to cut this jar shape, I'll just flip it over and trace the shape of the jar through the foam piece. Like so. And we will then cut it out using the Big Shot. So we'll place it onto the cutting pad. It's on tab 2 of the base plate, or extended multi-purpose platform. We'll now put the die just over the spot where we need to cut it. You can tape it in position if you feel it will move. Put the other cutting plate on top and run it through. It may crack and pop as you run it through, that's quite normal. And when we take it out, it should have cut through. So we've now got the jar shape on the front as well. Using the coloured piece of card, a piece of acetate will need to be stuck onto the back of it, like so, and this will hold the contents of the jar in place. So to stick it, I will just use some fast fuse adhesive all around the jar. And place the acetate over the top of that. Just sticking it well down. We'll now stick the double piece of foam onto the front of the card by removing one of the pieces of double-sided tape and getting it as centrally placed as possible. pressing it well down. I have a selection of nuts and bolts and nails, and I've used brass as well as silver to give a bit more interest. So we'll put a selection into the space that we've created there. A fair few. So having placed all our hardware into the depression, I'll take off the second bit of double-sided tape and put the top over to cover it. Again, getting it as central as possible. Now to decorate the front of the card, so the little bits will shake around inside. To decorate the front of the card, as in this example, we'll be cutting out the nuts and bolts and tools using the Big Shot. Using this silver coloured paper, I'll do a run through with the tools and nuts and bolts. And back again. You have to be a little bit careful with these small dies as they're very easy to misplace. And then we will pop out the tools from the silver paper. The silver paper has a coating on it, so it's sometimes a little bit trickier to get the tools out or the die cuts out, and sometimes you'll need to use scissors just to ease the last little bits of them as they pop out. So with some wrangling we've managed to get the pieces out. The silver paper does, as I say, make it a little bit difficult because of the plastic coating. I'll do another set, this time with red paper, just to make the handles for the tools. And we'll put them through using the Big Shot. This time, being plain paper, they fall out nicely. We don't need the whole piece, just the handle piece, so I'll snip it off there. Ready to glue onto the saw. Likewise with the hammer. And the screwdriver. Using some fast fuse and some scrap paper, I'll attach the handles to the tools. If any silver's showing around the red handle, you can just trim it off. These can then be placed on the card as artistically as possible. With the extra nut and bolt. Placement's entirely up to you. Leaving a little bit of space at the top to put your birthday greeting, and along the bottom I will put the tape measure edition. This is a paper tape measure that I found in a paper pack. I'll put a little bit of the fast fuse on it and then attach it at the bottom of the card. I'm now going to stamp a little lid for the jar, and that comes from the stamp set Jars of Love. And I'm using Stays On black ink to do this. Just pressing down firmly. And we've got the little lid printed. We'll cut out this little jar lid using the Everyday Jars framelits dies, and also a Happy Birthday die just to cut out the sentiment. Happy Birthday sticks into the die, so you'll need a brush or tool to poke it out. And any bits that have stuck in the letters can also just be poked out, and then can be stuck onto the card using any card colour that you wish. And the lid of the jar can be stuck, as it will just stick to the acetate layer that's below it. And sticking it down onto that acetate. Thus we have the completed card, though I've yet to adhere the Happy Birthday sentiment, if I put the happy first. So this would make a nice card for a man in your life, and hopefully you'll be able to get some ideas from this to make some cards yourself. This has been Liz from Night Owl Crafts Australia, expiring in the heat today. I hope you get some ideas from this video and can put some of them into use. Until next time, thank you.